Battle West. But first, this report from Tracy Bowden.
Surrounding Corrie Donati, Mr Abbott.
It's no surprise that Tony Abbot staged his first rally of the election year in Sydney's western suburbs. Here, the most crucial battles of the campaign will be fought. Leading the charge, opposition Treasury spokesman, a slimmed-down Joe Hockey.
This is the heartland of the modern Liberal Party. This is our bread and butter. We deliver for the people of Western Sydney, and what is good for Western Sydney is good for New South Wales, is good for Australia.
Tony Abbot declared there hasn't been an election in a generation as important as this.
I know that our best days are ahead of us, but our best days will only come if we change the government.
But to make it happen, Tony Abbot needs the votes of the people in Sydney's vast west.
Sydney's west is critically important to the success or otherwise of the Labor government. They hold about 10 or 11 seats in an area you'd describe as Western Sydney. Right now, about 5 or 6 of those are under serious threat from the opposition.
When you look at the standing of state Labor head-to-head with Barry O'Farrell after the state election, state Labor still remains on the nose. And there's no doubt that the brand as such is having an impact on Labor's standing federally as well as statewide.
The people of Western Sydney.
In Western Sydney.
Western Sydney.
Western Sydney.
In 2010, Tony Abbot missed out on winning government by 2 seats, and he was convinced the coalition had underperformed in New South Wales. Now many believe areas like Blacktown and Penrith hold the key to Tony Abbot becoming Prime Minister. 5 of Labor's 10 most marginal federal seats are in New South Wales. 3 of those are in Western Sydney: Greenway, Lindsay and Banks. Other Sydney seats that are also on narrow margins include Reid and Parramatta.
So how worried is the Labor Party about those seats?
I think they're very concerned, and we'll see a lot of focus on them in the coming months. Sam Dastyari, the party secretary here, has moved the party headquarters to Parramatta, for example.
We take nothing for granted, so I'm not going to sit here and say this, that or the other seat are all on our list. There were seats last time that we came close to winning, like Lindsay and Greenway, that we must win this time.
Well, look, I've never taken my electorate for granted, and Western Sydney and places like Lindsay have always been electorates where tough contests are fought.
Labor's David Bradbury is the federal member for the seat of Lindsay and is in a precarious position, but says he'll keep pushing for the things that matter in the West.
Lots of people in Western Sydney voted for the Liberals at the last state election. Lots of people are very disappointed. Lots of those people that voted for the Liberals have seen money ripped out of their schools, their local Catholic school, their local government school. They've seen money ripped out of their local hospital.
Labor has to focus very much on jobs, job creation, job protection, the sorts of things which the Liberal Party is weak on, because people in Western Sydney are highly dependent on jobs in an area where employment is very mobile these days.
This is not about having a one-night stand with Western Sydney. This is about developing a relationship over time as they make the transition from being taken for granted by Labor over so many years. And the assumption in Labor was that these were rusted on supporters. Well, they're not rusted on anymore. They feel empowered, they feel aspirational, and they feel that their vote should count.
Tony Abbot needs to convince these voters that he identifies with struggling Australians like them.
We are a pretty normal family, with a mortgage, with bills. We've struggled with the school fees, we've struggled with the hospital bills, and yes, it's easier now, but we know what it is like to struggle.
I think he'll struggle with that story, frankly. I think most people see Tony Abbot as being a product of the North Shore of Sydney. He comes from quite a comfortable background. He's been a long-term member of the Liberal Party. I think he would be better off just focusing on the needs and the priorities of people in Western Sydney, not trying to make out that he's part of their story. He's not.
Is the party's Achilles heel Tony Abbot?
No. And the reason for that is that we wouldn't be in the strong position we are in terms of our primary vote and therefore our two-party preferred vote if he had not taken the sort of positions he's taken since he became leader in 2009.
Like it or not, the residents of Sydney's western suburbs should prepare themselves for a political onslaught in the months ahead.